p.m. news on STV. Coming up, 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. Thousands of polling stations would be set up around the national territory, except at the presidency and in traditional chiefdoms. Voters would, however, vote in military barracks. Sports, the Dutch duo goes for a 4-year contract to lead the national male team. Both men have as task number one, defending the 2019 AFCON title on home soil, Cameroon. Development of these and more right ahead. Thanks for joining us in this Friday news edition. We begin right away in sports to talk about Clarence Seedorf, who has officially signed a 4-year contract to coach the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, with Patrick Kluivert at his side as assistant. These two Dutch tacticians have been handed the arduous task of defending the AFCON title on home soil, amongst other challenges that await them. John Paul Sama.
Pen has been put to paper and terms to reach for the new head coach of the men's senior national team. Clarence Seedorf has this Friday in Yaoundé, alongside his fellow countryman Patrick Kluivert by his side as assistant coach, come to an understanding with the Cameroon Football Federation and the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education for the Dutch duo to lead the reigning African champions to more victories in the next 4 years. The two tacticians are expected to bring back the fighting and winning spirit in the Lions' den, defend the African Cup of Nations title on home soil next year, and qualify Cameroon for the next Continental Jamboree as well as the 2022 FIFA World Cup. A task which the Dutch coach is aware of, and they are ready to start work immediately.
We had yesterday, it's been a long day. It was a good day. We finalized a lot of details because we want to start properly. We're very happy to be part of this beautiful country, this dream to work on football development and work on the first team's goals in the next tournament that we have next year. We are both very honored to be here and to start this journey. So from our side, from my side, thank you Cameroon, and be ready because we're gonna start working as of now. Okay.
The long-term contract also states that they must live in the country and provide support to the other national teams. 42-year-old Clarence Seedorf has previously managed AC Milan, Chinese club Shenzhen, and Deportivo de la Coruna in Spain, while his assistant Patrick Kluivert was assistant to Louis van Gaal at the Dutch national team in 2014 before taking up the post of sporting director at Paris Saint-Germain. And now he joins his fellow countryman Clarence Seedorf at the helm of the Indomitable Lions, their first challenge as far as African football is concerned.
Like we told you on our top stories, for this 2018 presidential election, there won't be any poll at the presidency, and in traditional hubs, perpetual voters would therefore cast their ballot in over 25,000 voting centers in Cameroon, including military barracks. The Deputy Director General of Elections Cameroon added at a press conference in Yaoundé today that the electoral body will readjust strategies to ensure polling stations and ballot boxes are open to all. September 30th, 2018 is the deadline to publish final list of polling stations. We continue in politics and specifically on the 2018 presidential election, where the Constitutional Council has embarked on the scrutiny of 12 petitions submitted by some rejected candidates. Inability to fulfill the financial requirement of 30 million CFE and other expected obligations are some of the reasons behind the rejections on August 7. Darling Ferjo tells us more.
Members of the Constitutional Council have begun scrutinizing the 12 petitions received after the 48 hours deadline following the publication of the list of candidates for the upcoming presidential race. These petitions focus on reinstating the candidacies of some disgruntled candidates. Olivier Billet of Union pour la Fraternité, whose file was flushed out for not meeting of the financial requirement of 30 million CFA funds, has appealed for permission to deposit the amount. Reverend Bertin Kissop, leader of the Cameroon Party for Social Justice, strongly believes his case should be considered despite his inability to raise the expected caution. Jomo Leopold of Urek and Reverend Gambang Rigobert, who also failed to provide a 30 million caution and the 300 signatories from the 10 regions of the country, pray the Constitutional Council validate their files. Other candidates who have petitioned for their files to be reviewed are Professor Justin Francois Fouda, Abubakar Kamaldin, earlier eliminated for financial reasons, Geneviève Z. Ambon, amongst others. The Constitutional Council will render the verdict after 10 days.
We continue profiling our presidential candidates. 38-year-old Cabra Libi of Parti Univers is one of the first timers coming into the presidential race with his slogan, 11 million voters on the electoral list. John Paul Sama tells us more.
Born on March 29, 1980 in the central region of Cameroon, Cabra Libi Lingenge is one of the maiden presidential aspirants for the National Union for Integration Towards Solidarity, Parti Univers. The Emmanuel Macron of Cameroon, aged 38, has a rich educational background which saw him pick up a baccalaureate at Lycée de Seka in 1998. Between 2012 and 2014, he studied at the University of Yaoundé-Toursoua, where he obtained a degree in Community and International Public Law and followed it up with a dual master's at the Advanced School of Mass Communications alongside a doctorate in international law. In his political life, the Macron of Cameroon was the co-founder and spokesman of the National Youth Forum, and between 2008 and 2017, he was a member of the committee in charge of drawing up the Charter of Rights and Obligations of Cameroonian Students in the Ministry of Higher Education. In May 2017, he launched the Operation 11 Million Voters on the electoral list ahead of the 2018 presidential elections, which he will be contesting against the incumbent Paul Biya for the National Union for Integration Towards Solidarity, Parti Univers, where he will be looking to repeat the fairy tale of Frenchman Emmanuel Macron.
Another presidential aspirant, Serge Espoir Matomba, was a municipal councillor of the Douala 4 municipality who created his first company at the age of 17. He embraced politics in 2010 and then created the United People for Social Renovation, PURS. Let's have his parkour with Darling Ferjo.
Pioneer Secretary General of the United People for Social Innovation, PURS, Serge Espoir Matomba was barely 3 years old when incumbent President Paul Biya took over the throne at Etoudi in 1982. Born on the 30th of September 1979 in Douala, the young politician was raised in a modest home with strict religious principles. After his primary and secondary school in government bilingual schools in Douala, Bamenda and Banga, he embraced entrepreneurship and created his own structure at the age of 17. He later traveled to Portugal, where he set up a consulting company in the hydrocarbon sector. In 2008, Espoir Matomba returned to Cameroon with plans of setting up a non-governmental organization, but is quickly stung by the political virus in 2010. To concretize his political dreams, he formed alongside his collaborators the United People for Social Innovation and is appointed Secretary General. He is later elected Municipal Councillor of Douala 4, despite tight competition with the SDF and CPDM in the 2013 municipal and legislative elections of September 2013. The Municipal Councillor has constantly condemned poor governance in the country. He firmly denounced the negative effects of the war against Boko Haram, the signing of the Economic Partnership Agreement. Alongside other executives of PURS, he staged a hunger strike in July 2014 following the increase in the prices of hydrocarbons by the government. The protests will, however, be cut off 3 days after, not without the councillor reiterating the dangers of such actions. Serge Espoir Matomba also condemned the escalating violence in the northwest and southwest regions and made several proposals to end the close to 2 years crisis. At 39, the native of Yingi in the Kam Division Littoral region is candidate at the October 7, 2018 polls. For his very first appearance, he is determined to challenge the Lion Man and occupy the presidency.
Today is being observed as African Decentralization Day. Well, in Cameroon, decentralization is still to fully gain ground despite several steps taken by the government. On the occasion of this day, this August 10, our reporter Henry Wana presents to us the different steps taken by the government of Cameroon to plant the decentralization process. His reports.
The 1996 Constitution of Cameroon gave birth to decentralization. Article 1 of the Constitution stipulates that Cameroon is a unitary decentralized state, which means that decentralized collectivities would be delegated some degree of power and resources to manage their affairs. In 2010, the first transfer of competence and resources to councils was done. By December 31, 2015, councils were given full power to carry out 60 out of the 63 functions they have, and a prime ministerial text on December 16, 2016 granted them the other 3 functions. On February 24, 2017, the prime minister signed yet another text which effectively transferred financial resources to local councils across the country, which many termed a groundbreaking decision for an effective decentralization process. To that effect, the sale of automobile stamps, windscreen licenses, local development taxes were placed under the supervision of the local councils, as well as part of forest revenues and funds collected by the Treasury is being given back to the councils through the Rural Assistance Fund, known in its French acronym FECOM. Mayors and municipal councillors now receive remunerations thanks to a presidential decree on September 16, 2015 to help boost the output of the council officials. However, to give the much talked about decentralization more visibility in the country, President Paul Biya, during his 2018 cabinet reshuffle, created the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development to elaborate and evaluate government policies in matters of decentralization and local development. Government is presently working on demarcating the competence of regions and that of the state and putting in place some legislative dispositions to fill in management gaps.
We stay with you, Henry Wana, to get the views of some municipal councillors here in Douala and an expert on the effectiveness of decentralization in Cameroon.
Municipal councillors in different councils in the littoral region hold divergent views on the level of implementation of decentralization in the country. According to Jules Minamo, councillor with the Douala 2 Council, decentralization is very much effective in their council.
La deuxième, la décentralisation est effective parce que depuis pratiquement 3 ans, nous recevons régulièrement, n'est-ce pas, des transferts de l'État.
But not the case with the Douala 1 Council. Decentralization is not effective here with us. We do have administrative bottlenecks. Sometimes a decision is signed, but applying them becomes a problem. Lotin Same Adov goes further to debunk claims that the presence of a Ministry of Decentralization will be able to resolve the plight of local councils in the country.
Je ne pense pas, parce que entre ce qu'on dit au Cameroun et ce qu'on fait, c'est 2 choses.
However, decentralization expert advise only an effective takeoff by the concerned ministry can lay this issue to rest.
Il faut d'abord que le ministère de la décentralisation et du développement local soit opérationnel.
To make this happen, the Ministry of Decentralization should fully go operational. It should equally have the needed resources to function well. The councils should as well be financially upbeat to carry out their project. This can only be possible if the finance law is fully respected yearly to enable councils to have the adequate budget. Once a project is identified, proper planning needs to take place as well as follow-up to ensure the execution of the project.
Il faut les planifier, il faut les programmer, il faut en suivre l'exécution.
On this day, August 10, 2018, as Cameroon joined the rest of the continent to mark African Decentralization Day, which is destined to remind all Africans, including those in the diaspora, on the importance of decentralization in the construction of Africa and the role of local governments in achieving this objective. Cameroonians are longing to see this fully become a reality.
In religion, the National Episcopal Conference has called for an end of violence and killings in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. In a communique released August 7, the Episcopal Conference say bishops are yet to be discouraged by the unfolding of events. Lovetbe.
Ever since killings and violence made its way into the ongoing Anglophone crisis, the National Episcopal Conference has sent out a series of communiques addressing the situation, with the recent one on the 7th of August. According to the National Coordinator for Catholic Communication at the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, Reverend Father Tatambui, the authorities concerned usually get copies of these communiques.
First, they were communiques by the bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, and those communiques of the Bishop of the Ecclesiastical Province of Bamenda, the memorandum to the President of the Republic had such a worldwide reception that even if the President of the Republic received it and did not react, it got its required effort in that it raised awareness. This last one now has been, you would agree with me, the killings have been a bit too much. And with these killings, I don't think any Cameroonian in his right mind would be happy that so many military people are killed, so many civilians are killed, and more so, innocent civilians, people who have nothing to do with the whole issue at all, because they enter in a village and just kill people and shoot people anyhow. The bishops have an obligation to raise awareness and say, listen, this is not to be accepted. Now, when the bishops have condemned and said what they want to say, you cannot force them. It's no longer within their competence to ask the other person whose responsibility it is to react.
The bishops in all their communiques have been trying to initiate dialogue, peace, justice and reconciliation. From
the look of it, it looks like everybody is entrenched in his own position and no one wants to give up. Government thinks they are right and they cannot give up. The Amber Boys think they are right and they cannot give up. And we are in a very tight corner where I think we now need, in all sincerity, we now need a third party to help us come to a dialogue.
These men of God have vowed to continue addressing the killings and violence in the two Anglophone regions until someone listens to their cry.
About the Catholic community, mortal remains of Reverend Father Alexander Nogi Sop have been laid to rest this Friday at the Bishop Rogan College in Boya, that is in the southwest region of the country. We recall the Catholic leader was murdered on July 20th. On our feature page tonight, our reporter John Paul Sama sought to know how roadside vendors cope with the rainy season. In some hairdressing sites here in Douala, hairdressers are busy with the activity.
Les clientes préfèrent les passe-mèches, la greffe. Quand on peut faire 4 ou 5 têtes, 3. Ça dépend des clients.
A situation which does not yield expected output.
Surtout les femmes font maintenant dans les rastas.
However, these ladies do not hold their arms. They struggle to make women look good and happy, although some hairdressers do not look relatively bright. At Carrefour and Atoll, for instance, some do braids, pass mesh, while others simply want long hair. Elsewhere, at Mbopi, styles remain same, but methods of placing them all differ.
During the rainy season, there's a lot of hairstyle, like for example, the one they call Rihanna. So women like to do hairstyle that will take long, that will last for long, like 1 month or 1 month and a half, then they take it off. Like for example, the one we are making there, that one they call it Rihanna, they had to bandage all your hair for applying the attachment on it. So that one can last for more than 2 months, really, because it's now rainy season. Like the one that is so local is Rasta. Everybody can make Rasta because it's not too expensive anyway.
Blue, oxblood or white braids, Rihanna designs as it is called, or punk. Every woman has her own way of keeping her beauty in the rainy season. In his brief, some 3 shops have been ravaged by white flames at the Mbopi market here in Douala. Though no life was lost, traders talk of a huge financial loss. Investigations are on course to determine the exact source of the fire outbreak. Let's get news out of Cameroon with VOA.
Officials in California say a wildfire that began burning more than a week ago has become the largest in the state's history. Researchers at the University of California say the climate conditions that make such large fires possible come earlier and last longer. Officials are warning residents to brace for more.
What seems like we should be in the peak of fire season historically is really now the kind of conditions we're seeing really at the beginning.
Forest fires are raging in Europe too. The deadliest wildfire in Greece's recorded history killed more than 90 people last month. Even forests in northern countries such as Sweden and Latvia were caught in flames. Many European and Asian cities are battling heat waves and reporting the highest temperatures on record. Extreme heat has had its effect on agriculture. Farmers are harvesting crops earlier than usual, and prolonged droughts have reduced the quality and quantity of fruits and vegetables. Heat is killing fish in a section of the Rhine River in Switzerland. The Swiss army dropped emergency water supplies for animals in the Vaud region farms.
The army services are provided free of charge because we are in what is considered a disaster situation.
A new study says the global warming targets set at the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement may not be able to stop these harmful rises in temperature. Countries agreed to make voluntary efforts to keep the world's average temperature from rising 2 degrees Celsius above what it was before the Industrial Revolution. The latest study, conducted jointly by the Australian National University, the University of Copenhagen and other institutions, says even if signatories adhere to the agreement, processes such as polar ice melting and methane releasing from the seafloor may increase the temperature on Earth by 4 to 5 degrees in the future, making some parts of it uninhabitable. In the meantime, unusual heat waves currently hitting Europe and Asia are expected to become common. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Today's 8 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television has ended. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, have a colorful weekend.